So Jamil, why don't you preface and tell us what these appraisal rules are like? Where did this come from? Why did you put this together?
So thanks. The reason I put these appraisal rules together was because my belief is that understanding value is the foundation of your real estate career. I got to the position I got to in this business because I was very good at understanding how much a property is worth. When I was able to understand how much a property is worth, I was then able to determine how much I could actually offer on that property for it to be a deal. That's it. You need to know how much something is worth in order to understand whether or not you have a deal or no deal. Now listen, guys. The one thing that I can honestly say that has been the dream killer of 99.9% of wholesalers is canceling their first deal that they get under contract. They go, they have all this time that they're cold calling, they're talking to people, they're maybe they're sending out text messages, maybe they're sending out direct mail, maybe they're JVing, whatever that is, whatever the lead generation technique is. Maybe they're working with an agent. I don't give a shit. Okay, what I care about is that when you don't understand what a property is actually worth, you don't know how much to offer for that property. When you don't know how much to offer that property, you end up locking up deals too high. When you lock up deals too high, you can't find a buyer. When you can't find a buyer, you don't get a check. And when you don't get a check, you get discouraged. And when you get discouraged, you get negative feelings. And when you get negative feelings, you get negative thoughts. And when you get negative thoughts, those compound, and that kills your dreams. That kills your dreams. And I would hate to see any one of you guys that are doing your part in motivating yourself and putting in action and doing work lose all of that because you didn't understand these simple basics. Pace asked, where did these come from? The title says it, guys. Appraisers. Okay, I've done thousands of transactions. I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of appraisers. In fact, I did the appraisal school. I just didn't become a licensed appraiser because I had no business being a licensed appraiser, but I learned this stuff. And I've conversed with appraisers across the nation who have said to me, Jamil, these rules are incredible. How did you deconstruct 9 months of school that I had to go to become an appraiser and put them on one piece of paper? Because that's what I do. Because that's what we do. We take all of the nonsense, we distill it into its core information, and we disseminate it to you so you can not waste time. Guys, the appraisal rules are the rules that your buyers are using when they are determining how much the ARV on a property is. Why? Because when they go to sell that property, they are subject to these rules, which is why they have to be why your deal is subject to these rules as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Let's go through them. So, when you are comping a property, you need to make sure that your subject property, so the property that you might be talking to a seller about, the property that you might have a JV deal with, the property that an agent sent you, your potential deal, okay? Your potential deal, that we're going to call the subject property. And we're going to call the comp for simplicity. You need to make sure that your comp and your subject property are in the same subdivision. The same subdivision. That doesn't, so if you have a property in Orange Grove Subdivision 1, does that mean you can comp in Orange Grove Subdivision 3? No. Why? Because Orange Grove Subdivision 1 and Orange Grove Subdivision 1, those are going to be the truest comps. Subdivision 3 might have happened 10 years later. Okay? Same subdivision. Your comp and your subject property need to be within plus or minus 200 square feet of each other. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they need to be 200 square feet apart. I mean, they need to be plus or minus 200 square feet of each other in size. So if your subject property is 1,200 square feet, you can use a comp that is 1,000 square feet up to 1,400 square feet. That's about it. Once you go above 200 or below 200 square feet, now your dollar per square foot starts to skew. All right. Here's something I see a lot of new wholesalers do, which is incorrect, is they'll get a comp, say for 1,000 square foot house that's sold for $250,000. Okay. I'm just making numbers up, but I'm doing this to give you an example. Then your subject property ends up being 2,000 square feet. So you think you can take the dollar per square foot from your 1,000 square foot comp and apply that to your 2,000 square foot subject, and that's not correct. You can only do that when your subject and your comp are within 200 square feet of each other. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You can only compare properties that are of the same type. So if you have a single-story rancher, your comp must be a single-story rancher. If you have a two-story house as a subject, can you use a comp that's a rancher, a single-story? No. You can only use a two-story. You can only compare a two-story house to a two-story house. If your property is in a historic district, but your comp is only one street over, but it's not in that historic district, can you use it? No. If your property is in a historic district, your comp must be in a historic district as well. When you are looking at your subject property to find the comp, you cannot cross any major roads. Okay, you cannot cross any major roads. An appraiser will always use a comp that is closer to your subject before they will ever leave a subdivision or before they will ever cross any major roads. My rule of thumb is it's better to use a comp that's old, even 2 years old. So it's better to time travel than leave your subdivision to go and try and fit your comp to your narrative. Here is something that new wholesalers do often, and I want to tell you this because I want you to be honest with yourself and see when you have tried to do this. I've done it when I started. I know Brent's done it when he started, and I'm sure Pace did it when he started, is when we start to do gymnastics, trying to find a comp that's not usable, but we want to tell a story. We want to say why our deal is a good deal. We want to try to get a buyer to buy it. So we go and do mental gymnastics. We break all these rules and we pull comps from wherever the hell they are to try to justify our ARVs. And guys, I am on every wholesaler's list. I see deals across the nation, and I can't tell you, but I can tell you this, 95% of the stuff that comes through my email is trash. Why? Because they're not following these rules. I feel so strongly about this that we share this on a free show, that I give this away on my Instagram. I do a weekly comping show on my YouTube that's absolutely free. You don't even have to be an astro flipping to do it. I do this because I care so much about your ability to see what is a deal versus what is not a deal. It is so pivotal to your journey. It is so important that you understand this, because if you can get this right, you will become the best in your market. I promise you that.